Hey, Watchaholics, welcome back to another recap for Love is Blind. And y'all, I'm going to just let you know I've already seen episodes 8, 9, and today I finished episode 10. I was supposed to be putting 2 videos out before episode 10, but I just did not have time. As you know, I was a bit delayed. I was out and about for Canadian Thanksgiving, so I apologize for my late reaction recap here. But I'm just going to put them all together, so let's just get straight into it because we've had some shock. I'm going to try not to get ahead of myself, but man, we've had some shocked moments. So I'm going to try to keep episodes 8 and 9 as much as how I felt in the moment. So episode 8 starts off with where we left off with episode 7, which was Lydia and Uche going at each other. Uche is just really trying to really prove his point that basically Lydia is a stalker and kind of crazy. Basically, that's what he is trying to make it seem like with this narrative of her following people on Instagram that he followed and keeping tabs on him. Yes. But anyway, Uche, he's continuing to try to talk to her, but Lydia is just like over it. But the episode starts off with Uche trying to talk to Milton, and Lydia comes and like basically takes away. She's like, no, don't talk to him. Literally dragging this man. I mean, literally dragging him because he is like more than a foot taller than her. It's actually hilarious. It looks like when a child is trying to grab their dad when they're like, Dad, listen to me. There's ice cream down the street. Come on, Dad. Come on, please. Literally, that's all I can think of. It just looked so funny. But, a lot of people have been saying that they wish that she kind of didn't really act like that because, Milton did the mature thing before when Milton went in while Lydia and Uche were talking, and he, went in very calmly, and she's like, oh, it's okay, like, let me talk to him for a couple of minutes. And he was like, okay, fine. And then he walked out. But in this case, Lydia was like, no. You're not talking to this man. No. You're not talking about him. He was like, please give me a couple of minutes. She's like, no. She did not want to allow him to basically poison his mind. But then at the same time, I think there is a little bit, I don't know, that to me it feels a little bit weird because at the same time it's like, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why do you care if he talks to him? In a way, I don't know. That's just me. That's just my take. And remember, guys, we are all going to stay positive here. We're going to stay positive in our comments. This is just my opinion and how my perspective on things. I know there's a lot going on with this Uche hate in the world going on right now. I don't really hate Uche, but I do, I don't know, this episode, it's just the way he talks. It's just the way he talks that I just don't like. Anyway. So then you have Uche who decides he's going to, play a different angle. He's like, let me get ahead of the game. Let me go and talk to the ladies, right? So he goes to the girls and he's trying to defend his story. He's like, Lydia is the one that's messed up. And Lydia is the one who's framing me in a bad light. And Lydia this. And then he's just like, guys, just so you know, like Lydia was, she knew I was going to be on the show. She came on the show because of me. She told Aaliyah that she had a strange feeling that someone from her past was going to be here. She knew it was going to be me. She knew. And I'm just, okay. All right. We don't have concrete evidence that she knew this, okay? Yeah, it's kind of weird. It doesn't make her look right, the fact that she says, well, I have a feeling, someone's going to be here from my past. We don't know. We don't know if producers put that in her mind by being like, hey, you never know. There could be someone from your past here. You literally do not know. You literally do not know. It could be that, or maybe the producers told her, hey, we believe that one of your exes is here. Who freaking knows, right? But anyway, this is when this whole episode beginning of this episode actually was just pretty much a shit show. Absolutely nuts. But this is when it really starting to heat up. Johnny's basically shocked by this. Like her mouth is dropped. She's like, oh, what? Lydia? No, I can't believe that. But while doing that, she kind of like looks at Stacy, and Stacy freaks out. I mean, I've never seen someone freak out so badly that they just looked in your direction that you literally tell them, what are you looking at? Do you have a problem? Stop looking at me.
You put firecrackers in a dumpster.
Up in your face right now!
One match and poof.
Look at your face!
And she and Johnny almost start having an argument kind of over the same time that Uche is trying to talk to the girls, and then she starts talking over him, and they're all kind of trying to talk over each other, and it's just weird. It's just Stacey like hates Johnny. And we're going to get into it. But she hates this woman. But the ladies, and it starts off with Stacey, are just saying, well, from our side, Uche, it didn't seem like that. You know, Lydia was super supportive of you and Aaliyah. She was always there for Aaliyah. Oh my God, how could you say that? We don't believe you. All this stuff. And this is when it gets spicy. Y'all, this is when it gets spicy. And I have some thoughts. It gets spicy, and I have some thoughts. Basically, Stacey and Uche start having their own conversation about how he's like basically trying to convince Stacey, like, hey, this is what's going on. And in that moment, Miriam, who was one of the people we saw in the beginning, have a conversation with him, who I kind of questioned because it was very weird about where she said she lived and where she was from and what business she had. It was just kind of weird. The way it was edited, it was just very, very weird. But basically, Uche and Stacey are talking, and Miriam tries to interject. And Uche puts his hand out and is just like, hey, stop it. Like, stop. I'm trying to talk to Stacey. Stop. Like, puts his hand out and she does not like it. She does not like the fact that this man has just told her to be quiet, basically, and put his hand up to her. Now, might be unpopular opinion, or it might be popular opinion. I'm not really sure. But for me, it's not the fact that he told her to stop. Like, that's totally okay to tell someone to stop. Yeah, you would use that word if someone kept trying to, like, interrupt you and you're really trying to get a conversation across and this person is, like, just trying to talk to you. Yeah, you would just be like, hey, stop. But it's the way he said it and the fact that he put out his hand almost, like, to her face, like kind of like, bitch, I don't really need to listen to you. Kind of like that kind of vibe. If he would have just said, hey, Miriam, I'm just trying to talk to Stacey. I'm just trying to talk to Stacey for a minute. Okay, just hold on one moment and I'll get back to you, or whatever it is. Like, just tell her, like, hey, hold on one moment. I'm just talking to Stacey. Then it would have been fine. I feel like nobody would have had anything to say if that is how he said it. But it's the fact that he basically, like, just said, bitch, be quiet. It's just kind of like what it sounded. I don't hate the man. I just think the tone and the way he said it wasn't the best way to say it. But anyway, this is what this throws Miriam into a tizzy. She's like, excuse me?
Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Do not tell me to be quiet. How dare you? Blah, blah, blah. And okay, this is when and I'm pretty sure most people were like, well, this is kind of weird. Something happened in the pause that we don't know about. Because we saw them briefly have like a quick little talk and thing. And then we never heard it about it. But I have a feeling they had a little something more in the pods and then it fizzled out or it didn't work out and Uche just like walked away or dumped her or whatever we want to say it. And now they're going at each other. And the reason why it sounds even more like that is because he literally says, oh, you're just bitter. I said, sir. Oh, okay. What's the tea? There is some tea here. And they cut this, but there is some tea. But, he basically starts walking out because Miriam is on her feet. She's like, you're not going to talk to me like that. I'm not Lydia. Don't you dare talk to me like this. And then he's just like, oh, do you have a business? Oh, where do you live? Dubai? Oh, where do you live in Houston? Just calling her out on her BS. And guys, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I did question it. I'm pretty sure all of us did question that in the pods because the way she was talking about her life, it was very questionable. I really didn't know what to believe. I was kind of like, wait, where does she live? Yeah, I questioned it. But the fact that he called her out and she did not like that, kind of questioned out her career, if she was even like into chemistry, a whole bunch of stuff. And she's like, I do have a degree. You can check that out. And she got so ghetto. She was all classy and like, life is great. Oh, there's a bug. Ugh, I wanted to kill that bug so bad. I hate bugs. She just got real. She got pretty. She turned up. She was not happy. She turned up. Then, basically he walks away. Lydia comes back to the circle and she's like, oh, that guy, he's trying to make me look bad. And Johnny says, well, Lydia, I don't want to be that person, but like, he seems very convincing. Like he's pretty convincing with what he's saying. I'm like, oh, are we swaying, Johnny? Are we swaying? Oh, girl. But everyone's still supporting Lydia. But Johnny's kind of a little bit of a side eye. She's like, well, I don't know. What Uche is saying sounds very, very convincing, kind of thing, So then we have Uche and Milton. They're talking again, and Milton basically just feels like he just doesn't give a shit. Like, Milton, almost every time he's on screen, I feel like he's just so calm, and he doesn't really say much. He's a man of few words, but when he does say something, it always sounds very like intelligent and very thought out. Like he's been listening the whole time, and while that person's been talking the whole time, he in his mind has been like, okay, so if I'm X and they're Y, then I must be Z because I don't see this perspective. Okay, I see it. And then that person's like, well, what do you think? And then he's like, well, you're X, I'm Y, and you're Z, and we're all on different perspectives. Basically saying, whatever drama you got going on with Lydia, I don't have that drama going with Lydia, and I don't want to get involved. That's basically what he said. Really do like Milton. I think he is very mature for his age in certain moments, in the way he carries himself, and the way he does kind of see situations, and the way he approaches things, and the way he kind of goes about things. Because he basically did not let even one word that Uche said, even for a little bit, deter what he felt about his relation with Lydia. He didn't ask questions. He didn't want to be involved. He was like, no, you don't have to show me an Instagram thing. It's like, it's fine. I don't want to see anything. My mom always said your perspective is your reality, or something like that. And he basically, in the end, it just says, all right, well, good luck, and I'll chat with you in the guys chat, and walked away. I said, wow. If this were Izzy, this would have been a very, very, very different situation. A very different situation. But let's get into Izzy. Guys. Let's get into Izzy. Because this next scene was absolutely savage. Savage. I swear to God, it was savage. So Izzy basically sits down with Chris and tells him what happened in the pod. It's like, oh, she told me she loved me and that she wanted me to be her boyfriend. And Chris is like, oh, really? She told you she loved you? He's like, yeah, she told me 4 times. I counted. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Izzy, why you gotta stir the pot?
Here we go! Here the fuck we go! Here the fuck we go!
Izzy, why you gotta stir the pot? You're stirring the pot. Him and Uche were just stirring the pot of a pot that did not need to be stirred. Who cares? Deal with your own relationship. Why are you doing this? Uche is number one example. Like, why? Why? How does this help you in the end? Absolutely not. You're just here to... Ugh, it was so annoying. It was just annoying. Then Stacey comes into the conversation, and she sits there, and she's like, oh, well, sorry, I didn't know you guys were having a conversation. I just was trying to get away from the drama over there. And then they all start talking, and then Johnny comes in because she's like, oh, what's going on here? I saw hands, and why were you guys all talking about? And this is when Stacey really... This was not a good look for Stacey. This was not a good look for Stacey and Izzy, because it just felt like two people that were getting in the middle of somebody else's relationship. That, why do you care? Number one, why do you care? Number two, they really came in looking like bullies, and that's not good. I hate using that word. It's a hard word to use, bully. But when, like, Stacey has this thing against Johnny that I don't understand. I don't think anybody understands, but Stacey says this thing in the ITMs where she's like, well, I shed a tear for Johnny because I felt so bad that, that Izzy wasn't going to choose her, and I had so much empathy for her, and then I found out that she was talking about me, and she's a horrible person, and she's fake, and she's the worst, and she's a piece of shit, and, like, literally, like, going off, and I'm like, what do we not know? Like, what did they not show? What do we not know? I hope they talk about this in the reunion, because honestly, I don't understand it. I do not, for the life of me, understand where this wrath of hate, like literally the wrath of Stacey, just went on Johnny, and she's just like, oh no, I know that you're a piece of shit. Everyone here thinks you're a piece of shit, basically. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's just like, why don't we just go in there and ask? And she's just like, oh no, I already know that that they believe what I believe. And Chris like pipes up like, oh, but she don't say that about her, like she's not a shitty person. Stacy puts him in his place so quick because she does ask a very good question. She goes, oh, well then why didn't you pick her in the pods then? why didn't you pick her then? I was like,
Well,
she's not wrong. She's not wrong. Why didn't you pick her, Chris? Why? Because yeah, she picked someone else and then picked you. Okay, this is my stance on Johnny, y'all. This is my stance. And I've said it before in the other videos. I do not like the way that she handled the whole Izzy situation in the pods. I do think that I don't think she's a malicious person, but the fact that the way that they edited it, which just made her put her in a bad light, because you clearly see her going to Izzy and saying like, well, Chris is the safe choice. And then you have her going back to Chris saying, well, Izzy's the safe choice. And that right there makes me wonder, like, well, were you just going back to Chris because Izzy said no, you know? And I can't unsee that. I just can't. To me, I think it didn't look good, but I don't think she's a malicious person. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone deserves love. Absolutely. I don't think she deserves the hatred that she has from Stacy and Izzy right now, because I have no idea where it came from. Like, literally no idea. The fact that she keeps calling her a shit person is shocking to me. Shocking. Stacy is so fired up at this point. They both leave. Johnny and Chris are just left there talking, and that's the end. We never see them again. But Stacy and Izzy go back to the other group, and they're like, oh my God, she's such a horrible person, blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because then the other girls are like, what do you mean? Like, what? Well, she's my friend. And I'm like, see? So it's not, I don't know why Stacy hates her as much. Like, hates her. Like she sees Johnny and she's like, she's the devil. I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know. But this is where, you know, again, we're getting to the crazy stuff. Stacy and Izzy ends up going back to their place, and this fight evolves. This fight starts out of pretty much nowhere. They're both like, oh, everything's great, I love you so much, honey. And then all of a sudden they start talking about Johnny, and then Stacy starts questioning Izzy, being like, oh, well, why does Johnny matter so much? Why is this so? And then it gets really bad. And guys, they were both very intoxicated. Izzy especially was very intoxicated. You could just tell in his eyes that he was very intoxicated. But he said the worst thing you could possibly say. And I was like, oh. Again, Izzy, I feel like he has potential, but there is a side of I that I can't unsee. But he says this one thing to Stacy. He says, oh, he's like, you have no idea. Like, it turned me on so much when you were defending me in front of Johnny. When you were like, the way you stood up to Johnny, it just turned me on. I'm like, so it turned you on that this girl basically just bullied a girl and told her that she was a shit person. That turned you on.
Oh, hell no.
I don't know what that says about you as a human, because that should be like, oh, I think you're taking this a little far. That would be my thought. But the fact that you're like, oh man, turned me on that you were like digging into her that way. Like, yeah, I'm like, sure, that is very toxic. That is very toxic. It's not good. It is not good. But then that slowly starts to evolve into the fact that Izzy hasn't cooked for Stacy. And Stacy's upset about that because basically in the pods he's like, oh, I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to do all these things for you. And the fact that he hasn't done that, she's asking for the receipt. She's like, hey, remember that time you told me that you were going to buy me dinner and you were going to cook dinner for me and do all this stuff? Where's that? Can you deliver on your promises, please? Deliver on your promises. Literally, that's what she was saying. And Izzy doesn't like that. And he starts to talk about how he doesn't feel that he is good enough for her, that she makes him feel like he's not good enough for her. And I'm like, I knew this was going to happen, because at the end of the day, we all know the kind of guy that Stacy wants. And it ain't Izzy. It ain't Izzy. Okay? This woman wants someone who's got the cha-ching, who's got the money, that can pay for stuff, that wants to live this lavish lifestyle. It is not Izzy. Izzy is not the one. And she knew that the moment she saw those paper freaking plates in his bed. In his room. In his apartment. Which, I was one of those people who didn't really give a fuck. But clearly, to her, it mattered. So, they get into this huge, huge fight. He's crying on the floor. And it was so bad. Because Izzy's crying on the floor. And instead of her going like, oh, are you okay? Like, why are you crying? It's okay. Like, she literally was like, why are you crying? Like, clearly pointing it out that he really isn't a man enough for her. Like, he is not the man that she needs, because she literally like scolded him. Like, why are you crying? Like get over it. Like, basically what was going on. I was shook. I was like, wow, this relationship is not good. Not good, because I think Izzy wants this to work so bad. He wants to find love. He wants this experiment, quote unquote, to work. Stacey's like, I don't know yet. So, yeah, it wasn't good. But we have Milton and Lydia back at their place. They talk it out about what happened that night. And it's the complete opposite of what Stacey and Izzy were going through. And it was so calm, and it's such a nice conversation. They both were there for each other. They supported each other. And it was nice. It was such a sweet conversation. It's interesting to see, because it does really feel that like Milton is what Lydia needs, like to calm her down and not have her heightened up. She needs someone to be able to like just bring her down to this level. And, he says, I have my own perception and nothing else matters. And I said, all right, Milton. Okay, Milton, I see you. So we move on to the next day, where we see Stacey doing something that it just fits Stacey's life and personality, but she is teaching a Pilates fitness class. I said, wow, if this couldn't be more on the button, I don't know. I'm not even shooketh. I'm not even shooketh that is her job. But Izzy comes to her job to talk to her about the night before. He tells her how hurt he was and how much he tries, and he just felt very unappreciated by her. She just says that she wants what she does to be reciprocated, and she doesn't feel that he is doing that. And in my opinion, at this point, I kept thinking, like, I think the main problem is that they both don't know each other well enough that they know what each other's love language is. Like, how do they want to receive love and how they want to give love? And that is something that I think all partners in general really have to eventually figure out in order to really work, because maybe the way you give love and the way you receive love might be very different than the other person. Like me and my husband, for example, we're very different in that regard. But as long as we're trying to give that person love in the way that they like to receive love from time to time, I think that really helps. And I think Stacey and Izzy are just on complete different, like, are not on the same page whatsoever on that. They haven't figured that out with each other. And I think that once they do that, they could go somewhere, at least get in a better headspace of their relationship. But in the end, he says that he's still there and he wants to make it work with her. Stacey says that she loves him and that he is so calming and makes her feel secure in their relationship. And she can't talk to anyone else the way she talks with Izzy. He says that he will say yes at the altar. And at this point, I was like, absolutely. This man wants this relationship to work so badly. I can't even imagine even a little bit that he will say no at the altar. But he ends up giving her some cute gifts. And when he brought out this bag, Stacey was like, oh my God, this is it. This is the moment. I got my Louis Vuitton bag. Oh my God, this is the time I'm getting my bag. I'm getting my Louis. I've got some Christian Louboutins. Like, she was living it. That's what she thought was in the bag. Girl, that's not the man. That's not the guy. He's not going to get you that. Instead, he's going to get you a plunger, a frame, and a coupon that says, I will cook for you while you look sexy. If that was any other girl, that would be like the cutest little thing. Absolutely. It was like an inside joke with the plunger, a nice little frame of the family, a little coupon to show that he's trying. Makes complete sense. Loves the gift. I would have loved it. I think it's super cute. But Stacy is not the one. Stacy is not the one, Izzy, for this. She is not the one. You don't know your audience. You don't know your audience. Move on the next day. Stacy meets Izzy's mom. She is so speechless that he's engaged. He talks about how much he loves her and what he likes about her, which is basically interesting because the only thing he really says about her is that she's very difficult, that she's hard, that they've had issues, but he loves her. I said, okay, well, what do you actually like about her? That's what I want to know.
That's so upsetting.
Because everything you just said was not good. So anyway, Izzy's mom talks about how she wants to make sure that, Stacy is the one. And eventually Stacy does get home. Because at first it's just Izzy and his mom. And then eventually Stacy gets there. And Stacy talks about how he's opened her up emotionally and has made her more vulnerable. And that she's so sure about him. Everyone starts crying. Mom approves. And I do think that she handled the situation very, very well. I think she said the right things. I do agree that he does open her up a lot more to being more emotional and vulnerable. And we do continue to see that throughout the next 2 episodes and into the finale. So I do believe that. So I think she did well in that meeting. I do. Then we have, getting to the end of this episode, we have Lydia and Milton meeting Milton's family. And y'all, it was so awkward. Such an awkward. I said, I don't know how these people are gonna match families or combine families. Like, they're just so different. You've got a really loud Puerto Rican family, super talkative, and then you've got Milton's family that's just like,
so marriage is a business arrangement. What does this woman have to do with a 24-year-old? This is phony.
that was literally the conversation. It was pretty bad. It was very awkward. Milton just looked so uncomfortable. I don't really know if he is someone who really talks to his family. They also seems very shocked at the fact that Milton would do something like this because he is a very calculated person. Really thinks things through, and this is something that looks like something he didn't think through. And I thought it was really funny because this whole time while Lydia's talking about Milton and how he's mature for his age and all this stuff, like, the editing is production. Thank you for the editing, because the production was pretty freaking flawless on this, but they just keep showing Milton trying to open the wine bottle with his teeth. Oh my, it was so funny. The editing was chef's kiss. It was chef's kiss. But literally the first thing the mom says is like, all right, well, what's your full name? What do you do for a living? Literally the sister's like, oh yeah, no, she's asking because she's gonna be able to find everything about you. I don't know what she does, but she clearly works in, like, I'm assuming in law enforcement or something, where she can look up your parole officer or whatever. Like, she can look into your past and your record, basically. But I just thought how the mom was so serious. It was a bit too much, but also Milton did say, hey, I grew up in a family that was very strict. It's going to be very different. I'm just letting you know now. And the sister just kept saying, like, well, are you sure you're ready to get married? Like, what do you love about her? And Milton's just like, can we not talk about this? I don't want to talk about this. And he's just sitting on the counter, like, not wanting to get involved in the conversation. He just feels very uncomfortable to be there. And I don't know if maybe he's just someone who doesn't really talk with his family as much anymore, or doesn't really tell his family his stuff anymore, because he kind of wants to live his own life and try new things, and I don't know, and try to open up and be a little bit different. I don't know. That's the vibe I kind of got. But the sister kept saying that this is phony, that no. Eventually, the interrogation begins. They take the mom and the sister take Lydia to another room. They all talk. They're like, so what are your ambitions? What do you think about him getting a PhD? What do you think about this? Okay, and what do you think about? I was like, oh my God, this is serious. This is a lot of questions, and valid, great questions to ask. And Lydia was prepared, so prepared to the point that they were like, girl, you seem rehearsed. Like, this does not seem natural. You seem rehearsed. And she's like, no, like, this is me. Like, this is what you get. She was very much herself. I didn't see her putting on a front, like, trying to be someone she wasn't, which was really nice to see. But this family was just so, like, I don't know. Like, they're trying to suss it out. Like, something's wrong here. And his sister just plain out says, like, I don't think Milton's ready. I don't see it. I'm sorry, but I don't see it. And that's how the episode ends, y'all. That was episode 8. I cannot believe that was episode 8. Now that I recapped that whole thing, I can't believe that episode was freaking wild. That episode was wild. Wow. Let's get into episode 9. So episode 9, kind of, I'm going to keep this one short because honestly, not much happened. It was a bit of a little bit of a snoozer, but you know, we have the marriage licenses. This was the marriage license dress episode. Every single time this episode happens, and because there's only 2 couples, it's kind of boring. You just kind of want to get to the finale kind of thing, you know? It's the same as always. Everyone's always super confident. They're like, yes, oh, I'm going to marry this person. I love them. They're the perfect person in the whole wide world. There's nothing wrong with them. I love them. I love them. I love them. That's basically what this episode always is. You have Stacy and Izzy riding in a plane. They have a dinner inside the plane, airplane hangar. He's excited to be a part of Stacy's family. Just a whole bunch of blah, 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 blahs. And I've heard this take about how funny it is that people were like, oh, when they got to the hangar, she probably was like, oh my God, am I going to be flying on a private jet? Because I think Izzy says like, oh, her family says that she loves riding in private jets, which that alone tells you how much money they have because a private jet ain't cheap. And instead of like her being like, yes, I'm gonna go like on an airplane ride, she gets put into this really old plane that's like probably loud and raggedy, and they're like watching out of a little window, and she's probably just like, oh honey, this wasn't it.
Everything's great, I love it. And inside she's like, what the fuck?
You have Milton talking to his sister. She's really digging into him, and she says marriage is like a business arrangement, asking him all these questions. Now, guys, I think there's more to marriage than a business arrangement. There has to be love there, but I can tell how his family does really see it in a very different light, marriage. They don't seem like a very touchy, very lovey family, that I will say. And it's interesting because you start to see that it feels that Milton is just a very analytical, this whole time you've noticed it, but like the more these episodes progress, the more you're like, wow, this guy's very analytical, very logical. He really thinks things through, which could also be a detriment in the end, you know? So then we go back to Izzy and Stacey. And y'all, this part was so weird because I was like, okay, this is weird. It's super quiet. Izzy's freaking packing his bag like a 5-year-old going to Disney World for the first time, packing all of his bags into the freaking suitcase and sitting on it like a kid who's like, I'm ready, let's go. But it's super awkward, very, very quiet. You're like, okay, they had a fight. Something's weird. And then we find out that there is a situation with Izzy's credit. So it turns out, and I'm still to this confused because, again, this was a scene that was not shown, and it was just a scene that had already happened, and then they're just kind of talking in the general context of it, and us as an audience, we're trying to, like, piece it together. We're like, so wait, does he have bad credit? Does he have debt? I thought it was debt. My first thought was like, oh, shit, he's got debt. He's got debt because she started talking about she was like, oh, you didn't tell me about the credit check. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I was trying to wait for the right time. She's like, yeah, but we talked about this in the pods and you said that everything was okay. You never told me anything about this. And he was like, well, I was just waiting for the right moment. Izzy, you were waiting for the right moment like the day before your wedding? Like 2 days before your wedding? Was that the right moment? What was it? Was it the right moment? Because I don't think it was. But Stacey is upset. She's just like, well, it's not even about the money. It's the fact that you weren't honest with me. You didn't trust me enough to tell me that you had bad credit. So, and okay, guys, comment down below because I find this extremely odd. Is it possible for you to have such bad credit in college where you didn't pay $3,500 in time or whatever to the point that you have such bad credit and you're 29? Like, when did he have this? He said it was in college. I'm like, okay, if this was in college, then, and you're 29 years old, where did you graduate college last year? Because I'm pretty sure your credit gets better after a while. So the fact that he just said he has bad credit and he doesn't have a credit card because something bad happened in college, I'm like, but that was college. You're 29 years old.
Wait, what?
I don't know. Comment down below. Comment down below if you understood because I am still a little bit like, huh? why didn't you have a credit card? Obviously, this is a huge issue for Stacy. This woman is all about money. Like, money is very important to her. Money is something that's very serious. Literally, the first time she brought this man to this house, she's like, all right, what's your credit check? Are you going to pay half for this? Are you going to pay for my dinner? What's the deal? Can you spend money with me? Like, I want to live a luxury life. Can you keep up? Clearly, money is important to this woman. Why would you not mention this literally that same day? That same conversation could have been like, hey, by the way, I have to talk to you about my credit. But why would you wait? Izzy. This is when the side eye. The side eye.
Fatality.
Anyway, moving on to the end of this episode with Milton and Lydia having a nice full-on first fight. Yes, I love a good first fight. They go on this date at this nice rock museum, which I had been wanting the whole time. I'm like, I want to see them together doing their like rock geology thing. Like, that's so cute. Let's see that. It was just cut short. You just see them walking through a museum, and then they just sit down and start having dinner, and then they're like kind of joking, like ha 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 ha, and then she's like calls him out on how he's not cleaning or something, and he's just like, oh, well, you want to talk about that? Well, then fine. I don't think you dealt with the situation correctly when you were talking to Uche. I didn't like that way you handled it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is getting interesting. Okay, are we getting into a fight? Yep, we are. He says, oh, I didn't like the way that you handled the situation. Oh, and he starts to tell her that he doesn't know how to talk to her about his emotions because sometimes she gets so over emotional and he's scared to kind of tell her how he feels in certain moments because of that. And guys, the thing that freaks me out about Milton is Milton's gonna be that dad or that parent that just says, oh, honey, I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. And then continues to eat their dinner. Or that parent that's like, so, what'd you do last night? Oh, I went to my friend's house. Oh, really? It was last night. I was in your room and I saw something in your diary that said you were going to go and hang out with Timmy. Literally, that's going to be the kind of parent he is. He doesn't do any emotions. He just eats his food, but has so much to say. And literally, that is exactly what was going on at dinner. Lydia was going off, being like, what are you talking about? You knew that I was emotional. This is why you said you loved me for me. What is this? She walks away. Nothing. He doesn't even get up to even go to talk to her. He literally just stays at the table, continues to eat his spaghetti. Kind of almost like also como un mafioso, like a guy in the mafia that's just like eating his steak. Oh, very villain. He gave me villain vibes. And not that he is a villain, but if you watch movies and the villain is always so calm and collected, but they're about to kick your ass, that's literally what it felt like. But yeah, he's continuing to eat his food very calmly, and she's just like, well, this is the way I am. And he's just like, well, I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. I just wanted to let you know, like, that's how, I think you should handle things better. I think you should, think things through before you go all the way there. And then eventually it just ends with her being like, well, we're going to be okay, right? I don't know. To be honest, I didn't know how it was going to end after that episode. I was like, oh, man. Maybe Milton's going to start seeing the cracks. Maybe Milton's going to be like, I don't know if this is somebody I want to spend my life with who can't control her emotions and can't make, logical decisions in the moment. And I don't know. To be honest, like how I feel about the situation is that, yeah, she's going to be herself. She's an emotional woman and that's it. But yeah, she can learn to being a little bit more calmer, which I think he can help her with kind of just being like, all right, honey, just let's sit down. Let's talk about this. And then he needs to be able to talk more about his emotions. Really let it out. Just be like, I'm fucking pissed. Like I'm mad. Instead of it just being like, oh, no, I'm fine. No, you're not fine. You're not fine. So, yeah. Okay, so let's get into our finale. Episode 10, y'all. Oh, man. Episode 10. This is going to be not too long because of, again, this is like those episodes where you kind of, again, usually you just want to get to the altar. Who's going to say yes, who's going to say no? Because for the most part, every single time before, you might see some people who have doubts, but there's always that one person that's just like, I'm confident, I'm going to marry this person, I love them, and you have no reason to even think that they're going to say no. And we had a couple. Okay. So Stacy and Izzy are the first to say, I do. Izzy gets there first, or not he gets there first. You just have, Stacy talking, I think getting ready with her sisters, all that stuff. Oh my God, Izzy's the best. We're so happy for him to be part of the family, blah, blah, blah. Izzy gets there, and Izzy is somebody who cannot sit still. I feel like he is always just like fidgeting. Like his leg is going at a mile a minute because he's so nervous. Like he just cannot stop shaking, literally. And I love that the camera kept focusing on that because you could tell that he was very, very nervous. But at the same time, I knew he was going to say yes. There was not an ounce of doubt in my mind that he would say no, or that he would say yes. There was not an ounce in my mind that he would say no. I knew he was going to say yes. Like, I knew it. This is when I knew. I'm like, oh God, they're just not, like, she's not ready for this man. Like, this is not the man for her. But because he told her, oh my God, I love Chipotle, she was just like, really? Chipotle is your favorite place to eat? Like, have you not been to like a Peruvian restaurant or like a Mexican restaurant to go to? Like, that you can say, oh, I like that restaurant. He likes Chipotle. I said,
you serious?
girl, he is not for you. He is not the one. Clearly, he is not the one. Like, the fact that you're pointing out this little thing, like, oh my God, I can't believe he said he loves Chipotle. First of all, Chipotle is fucking delicious. So anybody should say that they love Chipotle. Sorry, I'm a Chipotle fucking queen. Just saying. There's nothing wrong with Chipotle. The sisters are saying, oh, he fits in perfect with our family. I was like, really? They must have edited that whole scene wrong, because nothing about that seemed that. I mean, also, like, obviously we don't see anything, and there could be another day where they really got without the cameras, they're more relaxed, and they don't have to talk about money and all this stuff. So maybe, yeah, but I don't know. It's a little bit hard, far-fetched to me to say, oh, he fits in perfectly with the family. Mom and Stacey are talking about the red flags, about how she feels, worried a little bit because of the honesty portion and the whole money bad credit thing that she realized. And to be honest, before this point, I was like, oh, I really felt, I was like, oh my God, Stacey, they're going to say yes. They're both going to say yes. They're going to get married. I really, really thought that. Oof.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I was very wrong. But it was also in this moment that I was like, wait. So Stacey does have doubts. Stacey has some more doubts than Izzy. But she's going to say yes. I have a feeling. She's going to say yes. I have a feeling. The best man comes in and drops a note for Stacey. It's really cute and super duper cheesy. My God, it's so cheesy. But she likes it. She starts crying. She's like, oh my God, I told him I like notes and he listens. I love that about him. Like, he listens. He is trying. The dad comes in to meet I keep saying Chelsea. Comes in to meet Stacey, and the dad literally looks at her and he's just like, wow, you've got a wedding dress on. She's like, yeah, I know, right? And he's just like, great. All right, so let's go do this. Literally no emotion. No like, oh my God, my baby girl's getting married. Oh my God, honey, you look beautiful. A tear. Like, oh, no. He literally looked at her and was like, wow, look at you. You got a wedding dress on. I do, Daddy. That's great. He's a great guy. Let's go do this. So Izzy walks down the aisle. He's super excited. He welcomes everyone. He's like, oh, guys, thank you so much for being here. Oh, my God. He's so excited. He's got a huge, huge smile on his face. Again, there's no way that this man will say no. Stacey gets up. She gets there. She's crying. Obviously, again, I'm like, there's no way he says no. He starts saying his vows, and he's just like, oh, what I love about you is just that, you're so hard to crack, but when I do crack you, you're just the sweetest person ever. And in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, the sweetest person who, about 2 episodes again, just bullied Johnny on national TV. The sweetest person, though. Stacey says her vows. She's crying. Everyone's crying. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. Everyone's she's gonna say yes. They're both gonna say yes. They're gonna be married. It's gonna be perfect. I love it, And then they start asking the question, is love blind? There's not even a sense of suspense. Not even a little bit. Of course, he says, yes, I do. Then they ask Stacey, and y'all, I was surprised. They got me. They laid out the suspense really long. Like, oh, is she going to say no? And I'm like, okay, they're dragging out the suspense because she's probably just going to be like, I love you so much. Yes, of course I do. But she says, Izzy, you're the best guy and I love you. And I said, oh, fuck. In the moment when she said, you're the best guy, I love you so much, I said, this, she's going to say no, isn't she? She's going to do one of the, I love you so much, but I don't want to marry you. And yep, just what she does. She says that she cannot marry him because she needs more time. She's not ready. And then she's like, I'm so sorry. I hope you understand. And this is when it got so freaking weird because I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, so wait, are they dating? Are they not dating? Is he mad? Is he not? It was the weirdest thing. Literally the weirdest thing. She gets close to him and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, do you understand? And he's just like, yeah, I understand. It's okay. Like, I completely understand. And then they kiss and they start like kissing. And I'm like,
what the fuck is going on in here on this day?
what the fuck? Like, why are they kissing? And she's just like, oh, sorry. It looks like we're doing this out of order. And I'm like, wait, what? And then she walks out. And I said, what? So my thought was that Izzy said, oh, yeah, I understand. So I'm like, okay, so they're just going to date after, right? Wrong. So then Izzy's just like, oh, I'm really surprised right now. I wasn't expecting this, but I want to thank you guys all for coming out tonight or coming today. I appreciate you, blah, 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 blah. And then he leaves. And Izzy and his mom are now talking in the little barn thing. And she's like, I don't want to talk on anything negative. I want to keep it positive. I just want you to know how proud I am of you and that you're going to be okay. Then you have Stacy and her mom talk. And she literally flat out says, yeah, I have no regrets about saying no. I said, he wasn't the one. She didn't have any sense of emotion. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit of a tear. Not even a little bit of sadness about the fact that, man, I'm overthinking it. Like, maybe I should have said yes. No. She has no doubt in her mind that she was going to say no, which makes me wonder. I'm like, so did she know she was going to say no from the beginning? Or was it the moment she got there that he said yes and then she's like, you know what? Why don't I feel the same way? I feel like something's wrong. This isn't right. And says no. So Izzy and Stacy go out to talk and you can tell he is hurting. He is really upset. Maybe in the moment he was like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Everything's okay. And then he went home and went back to the barn and was like, fuck, I feel bad. She dumped me. It might have been one of those moments, right? She says that she thinks she needs more time to trust him and to really work on their relationship before saying I do. And okay, I think Stacy did feel the pressure of having to say I do, which I mean, I feel like most people would have, but he says that he feels even like what's the point of saying like I need more time? If you can't say yes now, like what do you need more time for? It's kind of like you're either all in or you're not. And he took that as her being like, well, I'm not all into you, which is why I don't want to marry you. And I think she honestly wanted to just date. And who knows, maybe at the reunion they are dating right now. It could be. But I think in the moment, he was really, really upset. And he kind of was just like, no, like I wanted to marry you. And the fact that you said no means no. Like I can't date you. I don't want to be with you. Like that's that. And, like, I get both sides. I understand that Izzy's, like, he loves hard. He is someone who loves hard, and he just wanted someone to love him back and love him the way that he wanted to love. Like, he loved her so much, quote, unquote, he thinks he loved her so much. And the fact that she didn't reciprocate that to him, that's like that's it. You don't love me. You're the worst. You don't love me at all. Not even a little bit. You don't love me. I think it would have been fine if she just said, hey, let's just date. Like, I really love you and I want to date. Let's try this out. But they didn't even get there because Izzy just kind of shut it off. And then, this was not a good look for Izzy. It wasn't a good look. But you could tell he was so hurt by the situation that it turned into anger, which then turned into like, oh, I'm gonna throw digs at her, which made him look bad. No wonder you're 33 and single. Like, you're always dating these like 40-year-old men, but you wouldn't want to date me. Like, I was gonna give everything to you. Oh, he's hurt. He's hurt so much he's saying mean things now. And then that's gonna make you look bad. Don't turn dirty, Izzy. You're turning dirty. But yeah, I was shooketh. I was shooketh at that ending. I'm not gonna lie, because I thought they were gonna say I do, but instead we had Lydia and Milton next getting married, and Lydia is again she was like Izzy, just someone who wanted to be loved, And again, Lydia's the one in this relationship that I'm like, I have no doubts. She's definitely saying yes. There is not a doubt in my mind that she will say no. Milton says he's starting to feel a little bit nervous. He's like with his guy friends, like just being such a 24-year-old. It was hilarious. He hadn't written his vows. He couldn't put on his jacket. He opened his backpack to get a pencil and a whole bunch of toothpicks fell out. Like, it was hilarious. But at this point, I was a little bit curious. I was like, oh my God, Milton's gonna say no, isn't he? They're gonna ask Lydia, and Lydia's gonna say yes, and then they're gonna ask Milton, and Milton's gonna say no. I was convinced. Milton and his dad come, and his dad is, just giving him the speech, just being like, you have to, fight fair. That's what this is. All those fights that you and your mom had, like me and your mom had, and you heard us. He's like, well, he's just like, but me and Lydia are nothing like you and mom. I was like, ooh, awkward. You could just tell that Milton wants a different kind of family vibe in his place compared to like what him and his family have. You can tell he wants something different, which I do feel that Lydia can provide from him. He does start to say that everyone else is so nervous, but it's so weird because him and Lydia don't feel nervous at all, and that's making him second guess and question if something is wrong. Like, is something wrong? We feel very confident. So am I missing something? Am I not overthinking something? And I was like, shit. I was like, fuck. He's going to say no now. We get to Milton walking down the aisle. Again, all calm and collected, as expected. Lydia comes through the door with the mom. And again, he's just standing there with, like, no emotion on his face. I'm like, this guy, he probably has a really good poker face. He probably would be really good at poker, just saying. Lydia's literally all smiley, and she's like, they're looking at each other. She's like this, basically, because he's so tall. She's, like, looking at him up like this while they're waiting. And he's just like, yep. That's basically what I kept thinking in his head. Like, there was, like, nothing going on in his head except, yep, I'm getting married today. Oh, they do their vows. They were okay. Nothing truly remarkable. Their vows were kind of like meh to me. But Lydia, they ask her, and of course, as expected, she says yes. Was not surprised by that. But then they say, Milton, do you say yes? And I'm like, oh fuck. I was literally like this under this shirt. I was like, oh my god. He's like, oh my god, I can't watch. And he says, I do. And I said, say what? My mouth dropped when he said I do. I said, wait, what? He said I do. Shooketh. And what was funny is at the moment after he said I do, they started kissing, and everybody was like, what are you doing? It's not time. And then the guy, the minister, or the person who was marrying them was like, oh yeah, no, you guys are ahead of the game. You're not supposed to kiss her yet. And he's just like, oh, sorry. It was really funny because they got so carried away after both saying I do that they were like, okay, we're married, let's kiss. And it was on time, so it was funny. I am very shooketh by the fact that this relation lasted. Milton surprised me. I thought he was going to get chewed up by Lydia, and it was the other way around. Milton really put her in her place when he needed to, and that was nice to see because you wouldn't normally see that with someone who wasn't very confident in himself and who he was. And I think that is what saved that relationship, was that Milton might be 24, but he is so sure of who he is. He is so sure of who he wants to be. He just doesn't let things get to him. Like, he's just like the perfect person, I think, for Lydia in the end. I think out of everyone, he actually was the right choice for her to make. I mean, imagine, like, it was like her and Izzy. Oh my God, what a disaster. Whew. It could have been bad. But yeah, they say I do. And then we go through every couple saying that, do they believe love is blind? And it's so sad to see, but they go basically asking every single couple that didn't make it. I mean, technically, I guess Johnny and Chris didn't make it after the pause, but they interview them, like, I guess before all that happened. So they show Chris and Johnny, Leah and Uche, JP, and oh my God, I'm forgetting her name. Taylor. I forgot her name. JP and Taylor, all talking about if they believed love is blind and what things that they want to work on. And I was like, wow, this was a sad season. 2 Only 2 couples made it to the altar, guys. 2. Yeah, and then they just saw Lydia and Milton all happy and in love and, you know, being their typical funny selves. You know, she drops her veil, he puts it on, he starts walking, and that cute little banter that they have that is going to be dangerous, so I hope they secure that right. But they had their own little banter where, you know, he's like, no, let me do it. And she's like, no, you don't know how to do it, you know, and she's kind of like, almost like mothering him, but not in a bad way. It's kind of like cute. In a way, it could get tiring pretty quickly, but maybe Milton will just be like, girl, please stop. Girl, you're my wife now. I can do things. Like, stop mothering me, kind of, you know? But yeah, guys, that was the end. That was the finale of Love is Blind season 5. Are we on season? Yeah, season 5. That was season 5. Wow. Y'all, this season was absolutely nutso. The amount of failed relationships, the amount of messiness, the amount of toxicity this season was immense. We did not get at least 3 happy couples that, you know, we only had one success story. Just one. Shocking. But, you know, I don't want to go into a complete breakdown of this season because on Sunday, which I guess when this episode comes out will probably be Sunday morning, and I'll probably be watching I'm putting out this today. I'm putting this out on Sunday, which when this premieres, it'll be Sunday morning, meaning that today is the reunion. So guys, I hope you're subscribed because I will be putting my thoughts and recap of the reunion probably up on Wednesday of next week. Y'all, I can't believe Stacy said no and Milton said yes. Wow. I thought it was going to be the opposite way around. I really did. They got me. But y'all, what did you think about this season's matches? What did you think about this finale specifically? Comment down below. I know you guys are all gonna have something to say, so I can't wait to chat about it with you in the comments. But guys, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you are not subscribed, please click that subscribe button. It helps out this channel, helps it grow, and I will see you guys in the next video for the freaking reunion. And it's not live. Thank God it's not live. Oh, thank God it's not live.